Don't worry, I have some good things to say about this movie before I get started. Yeah, gotta clear my throat for a second. See back there, over there, Doggy Meat is sad. He's sad about this movie also, as are millions of other people. Now, before I get into it, I just want to say this movie is not as bad as other people are saying. It actually is quite enjoyable. But that doesn't hide the fact that obviously Warner Brothers does not really care about its DC movies. And it's disappointing for many reasons. Mainly two reasons. One, DC actually has been making movies a lot longer than Marvel. Not many people, I guess, today know that, but they were making Superman movies, Batman movies, way. I forgot when the first Batman movie came out. Not the Tim Burton one, but there was other ones with Adam West, and then there was another one, I think around the 1940s, 1950s, and Superman also. But then there were Wonder Woman TV shows, Superman, Batman. There was even a Shazam, Captain Marvel TV show. And then there was The Flash and a couple others. Countless of animation. And yet, despite over, I guess, 50, 60, maybe 70 odd years of Warner Brothers making DC movies, they just don't get it. And that's strange. You think a company like Warner Brothers would actually get it more than Disney and Warner Brothers at this point. Marvel has a long history of struggling to just make a movie. They struggled for a while to even make a Spider-Man movie. Making a Spider-Man movie that took almost 20 years to actually have a Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire. And then there was a failed Fantastic Four movie, and Fantastic Four has had a history of a bad rap for a movie. But yet, Marvel is still fine. Disney is still fine because they figured it out. They had a plan. And it's weird because you'd think that Warner Brothers and DC, they would get it. Now, as I said, the animated DC films, they're killing it. I've seen some amazing animated DC films. Yes, Marvel has some good animated TV shows and films, but animation is where it's at in DC. And both Marvel and DC are about 50-50 on video games. There are a couple of Marvel games that I personally enjoy, mainly the X-Men games from I think it was PS1, PS2. Most of them I enjoyed. Some of the Spider-Man games too, but Spider-Man's now getting a bad rap in a way as far as video game goes. But DC has come out with some good Batman games, has come with some good Justice League games, the Injustice, and now they're making a good Superman game for what it looks like. And Superman has had a bad history of video games, very bad. And here's the problem. Both Marvel and DC are actually 50-50 when it comes to their source material. They are so even that it doesn't matter if you prefer Disney or Marvel. In fact, you can like both. Here's the thing. I like both. When people ask me, who do I think would win in a fight, Batman or Spider-Man? I don't care. I like both. Spider-Man's my favorite Marvel character. Batman's my favorite DC character. Like millions of other people around the world. I'm a big Spider-Man fan, big Batman fan. I really don't care who wins, but I have my own opinion about it. Who would win and why? But that's not the general basis of what I'm talking about. And people are saying, well, Superman is boring. Well, no, Superman's not boring. If you actually read the comics, Superman's actually a compelling character. It's just the movies made him boring. The Superman in the animated TV shows, he actually has a little more personality to him. And not many people know this, but Superman can actually fight, despite that he has superpowers, and he's one of the strongest characters out there. And if you take away Superman's powers, he basically would be useless. But despite that, Superman can actually fight. And that's something that these movies don't really address. They address him as being like a god, or so sort of. So now, besides all that, it's just strange that DC had a chance to make a good DC expanded universe, but they are failing every step of the way. They failed in Suicide Squad. They did good with Wonder Woman, and Batman vs Superman was probably the most horrendous comic book movie I've ever seen. I think Batman vs Superman is worse than Batman and Robin by Joel Schumacher. You can say bullshit all you want. I did enjoy some things about BVS, but this one really takes the cake. Now, again, I'm gonna say, I don't think this was at all a horrible movie, like by any means necessary. But it's not exactly a good movie either. It's enjoyable for the most part, but it does come with a series of problems. A series of problems that I almost cannot understand why they went that way. First of all, let's go back to BVS. There was no reason whatsoever that they should have killed off Superman in his second movie. Superman should have had at least 3 or 4 movies before they finally killed him off to reveal him as a godlike character, godlike being. But now Superman is too much regarded as a god that they basically took away his core character. What is Superman's core character? He's just a guy from Kansas. He is just a normal guy who happens to be an alien, who happens to have these abilities. He's a guy that wants to help people. Superman doesn't really have a motivation to be a superhero. He doesn't really have a motivation to do good. He just wants to do the right thing. And I feel that they just took that away from this character, in a sense. But, in the same time, this movie does save Superman a few times when Superman does Superman-y things towards the end of the movie. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, why are you spoiling that Superman's alive? Here's the freaking thing, people. It was in the trailer, one thing. 2, you cannot have a Justice League without Superman. Period. I did not spoil anything. There was no reason why Superman should have been dead, and there was no reason why it should have been a secret. There's no reason why it should have been a secret. At all. And of course, Wonder Woman, she's a great character in this movie. Aquaman, I'm glad how they did a revision of him as a character. I'm not really sure why Cyborg's in this movie. He's a Teen Titans character. There are plenty of other characters. There are plenty of other characters in this. There are plenty of other DC characters. You know what? Screw it. I'm done. There are plenty of other DC characters. If you wanted a African American DC characters, there are plenty of them. There's the Green Lantern. Everyone likes Jon Stewart's Green Lantern. There's no reason to not include him in this movie. There's no reason whatsoever to not include him in this movie. The Flash. He is great. He is compelling. I almost see no reason why for the storyline of this movie. That's my problem. I almost see no reason for why Superman had to die. That's another my problem. I had no reason why Cyborg had to be in this movie. I'm not bashing the actor. Whatever. I'm not saying anything bad about Cyborg as a character. I'm simply saying he's a Teen Titans character and doesn't deserve to be in here. That there are plenty of other characters to choose from. The villain in this movie is probably one of the most boring villains I'd ever seen on screen. The entire fight was anticlimactic, for one thing. I thought Loki was probably bad as the first Avengers villain, but this one takes the cake. They could have easily just went with Darkseid. They didn't have to foreshadow Darkseid at all. He could have just been in this movie. And finally, there's the Lex Luthor thing. I don't know why they chose Lex Luthor, this Lex Luthor in particular, but this is the Lex Luthor that we're getting. Now, again, is this a horrible movie? No. Is this movie going to piss you off as a comic book fan? Definitely. Are you going to enjoy this movie? Yes. Does this movie make any sense? Almost no. Is the special effects amazing? No. I almost don't see how or why they spent $300 million plus on this movie, because the special effects do not really seem all that great. here's my thing. The animated DC department has been doing so good, and I'm so confused on why the people at Warner Brothers don't just hire the writers for the animated department of their films. Just hire the writers. They know what they're doing. They're good at it, and people will enjoy that content. It makes no sense. I used to like Zack Snyder's films, but so far none of the DC movies. I did enjoy Man of Steel, for the most part. I enjoyed it as a movie. I enjoyed it as a different take on Superman, but now that I look back on it, I should have saw the warning sign that this Man of Steel movie was going to lead to BVS, that was going to lead to this disaster that we see here. They rushed it too much. They tried too much to copy Marvel. But at the same time, they did try to do their own thing. This movie is arguably darker than the first Avengers movie. It does have darker themes. I think, though, I will give this movie that the fight scenes in this movie are more enjoyable than the first Avengers movie. That's just my opinion. Except the fight scenes with the villain of this movie. So, what do I see? I don't see a future for DC anymore. It is clear that the people at Warner Brothers don't care about these characters. They don't understand these characters. They've had these characters for over 60, 70 odd years, and they still don't care about these characters. They still don't know these characters at all. And that's just the bottom line. And that's why Marvel right now is in the lead. And I'm not really trying to compare the companies, because DC has had a good run too for the past 50 years or 60 years that it was on film. Some good Batman movies, some good Superman movies, some good TV shows, and some mediocre TV shows. But the executives at Warner Brothers should really take a look at how Marvel and Disney are doing their movies. They should really take a look at that, because that is the key to establishing characters, the key to understanding these characters. And so far, DC has gotten a bad rap on like who these characters are and their motivations. So Batman went from a cold-blooded killer in BVS to the Batman that we now know in this movie. I do enjoy the actors in this movie. The actors are what save this movie at the end of the day. Do I think this is the best DC movie? No. I think Wonder Woman is. Do I think this is the worst DC movie ever made? No. I think it's Suicide Squad for many reasons, and then BVS. But it's just so disappointing that the Justice League, ironically, should have been the first superhero team-up movie that we had. The very first one. And somehow the Avengers were. We had a Justice League team-up TV series that didn't do too well. We had a Justice League animated series that did really well. But for some reason, they just didn't think of making a Justice League movie franchise. And they didn't think about setting it up. So, what's really strange is that these companies, they're movie companies, and they want to make money, but they're going a horrible way about it. They could make so much money. They could have made so much money off these characters, made so much money off Justice League, had they just did their homework. Had they just hired writers that actually understood these characters. Had they just established these characters for who they are. Had they done more Flash movies, more Aquaman movies, more Captain Marvel movies. Like, had they just done their homework, they probably would be swimming in money right now. But they didn't. And this is what we get. It is very clear that they don't care about these characters. And I don't see a future for DC at the moment. I do enjoy this movie for the most part, but I prefer the Justice League cartoon series over this movie. I prefer the Justice League comic books over this movie. I enjoy the Injustice games over this movie. But it's not a horrible movie by any means. But it's a movie that's definitely going to disappoint a lot of people, and it's a movie that's going to leave a very questionable future for DC. And it's sad because this could have been a golden opportunity for that company. This could have been a golden opportunity for DC and Warner Brothers to make money, but they just don't know what they're doing. I wasn't too thrilled about going and seeing this movie after Batman vs Superman. I know a lot of people weren't either. They saw the warning signs in the trailers and went to go see the movie, and critics are bashing it for a reason. And I never really agree with critics when I go see a movie, but at this time I somewhat agree with them. Again, the actors do a good job in this movie. I do like them as actors and characters. The action scenes are great in this movie, but this movie does have a horrible villain. This movie does try to copy the Avengers too much. This movie doesn't get these characters right, in a sense. So, or does it any justice? This movie tries to hide Superman's death and rebirth like it's a secret, even though we all knew that Superman was going to come back. There was no secret about that. So I guess I'm done ranting. I'm just throwing my 2 cents, and I think the 2 cents is what everyone's saying. Do I think DC has a future in making any money or making any good movies? No, I don't. This is what we're getting. This trash right here is what we're getting. That's the Justice League DC Expanded Universe. Might as well stick with it. They think they're going to do so well, but they're not. No. Anyways, yeah, I know some people are going to disagree with my opinion. That's fine. You're great to have your own opinion. And don't get too mad, because like I said, I did enjoy this movie somewhat. Maybe about 60% of it I enjoyed. But the other percent of it is just not going to fly. So, this is Matt Scooby. I got to go. You guys don't fight in the comment section. You guys play nice. Peace.